A pleasure and honor to celebrate India and to be at India House celebrating one of the oldest and richest civilizations of the world. Celebrating India, pleasure and honor to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Suresh Reddy, Ambassador of India to Egypt. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining us here on Nile TV International.
Thank you so much, Tagreed. I'd like to first start by saying Sabah al-Ful. Should I say Sabah al-Varda to all my friends in Egypt. It's really a pleasure to be here with you. I mean, your show is very popular. You have many important personalities, you have many diplomats, you have many leaders in your show. So I'm very happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Very meaningful days in India's history. We're talking about Republic Day and Independence Day. What does it mean to the Indian people?
You know, 2 years back we celebrated 75 years of our independence. It was a hard-won independence, and as you are aware, our story of struggle against the British is a very well recorded story of especially how we won independence by adopting non-violence, and that has actually become a role model for many countries. And in this context, India and Egypt also share a lot of similarities in common. We both have been fighting against colonialism. But coming to the present, what we did was we celebrated our 75 years as Amrit Kal, in which we admired and appreciated and recognized the contribution made by the different segments of the society. We are grateful to our farmers who ensured that a country which was having a challenge in food security has become a food surplus country. We were grateful to our scientists for putting India in the leadership of technology, and we are also grateful to our doctors who are today providing the best health care. And we also appreciate and admire our private sector. Today when we talk of India as the 4th largest economy, it is the private sector which is propelling this growth, and so we really take great pride in what we have achieved. But having said that, I would also like to talk of the future, how we look at the future. Our Prime Minister said we have had a glorious 75 years, but let us make the next 25 years even better. And so we have developed a very clear roadmap towards India becoming a developed nation by 2047, when we will be celebrating 100 years of our independence. This is called Viksit Bharat. We have got a very clear roadmap covering across different sectors, and we are identifying the weaknesses one by one, and we are addressing those weaknesses in a very meaningful manner. And I believe that even if we don't become a developed nation, we are going to be a developed country for sure, because we are very clear what we want to achieve, and we are working to realize that vision. And that's what really matters when we talk of meeting the economic and social aspirations of the people of the country.
Ambassador, a strong bond that binds His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and this is reflecting on the diplomatic relations, friendship between both countries, and strategic partnership.
You know, I must really acknowledge that it is a privilege to be an Indian ambassador in Egypt, because Egypt is of course a country of civilization, but we also are a country with whom we share a very historical relations, and it's a country with whom we have a very deep and special bond. And for us, when you refer to the Republic Day, it was a great honor for us to have President Sisi as our chief guest for the Republic Day celebrations. I think his visit to India and the visit of our Prime Minister to Egypt in June 2023 has opened a new chapter in our bilateral relations. It has opened the door for building a very strong special strategic partnership between our two countries. It has laid a very clear roadmap. It has given a vision of how to build our bilateral relations, and this encompasses different sectors. And I think what we are basically trying to do is we are trying to build a futuristic, forward-looking partnership, a partnership which is going to define not only the region, but importantly at a global level also, befitting the stature of Egypt as a very important and leading country in the region, and also India today, which has become the 4th largest economy globally.
A remarkable scene at India's Republic Day was the armed forces, Egyptian armed forces, our armed forces celebrating with India and sharing with the contingent in that day. I guess it definitely helps foster defense and military ties between both nations.
It was a matter of great pride to see the Egyptian contingent marching in the Republic Day. It was really admired by all the people of India, and we are talking of more than 1 billion people who watched the Egyptian contingent marching in their true professionalism, in their bright colors. It was a very admirable scene. And I should say this the engagement between armed forces is really special. We have a very strong connect between our two armed forces, including joint military exercises. Many officers are trained across each other institutions. But what is important is, as part of the strategic partnership, is also we join hands to fight common challenges. And one of the important challenges here is, I would talk of terrorism. And you are well aware of the terrorist incident in India. And we are very grateful that President Sisi called Prime Minister Modi himself and shared his anguish and condemned the terrorism, the act of terrorism. And our multi-party delegations which came here was very well received by the leadership of Egypt, and they had the opportunity to talk to all the different political leaders from the Senate to the House of Representatives, and also various think tanks and opinion makers. And what was emerging in all the conversations was our shared desire to combat terrorism. Egypt has been a victim of terrorism itself, and we can understand the struggle which Egypt is going through in eradicating radicalism and fighting terrorism, same challenge which India also has today. And we look forward to working even more closely with Egypt in this important area. On the defense side per se, there are many opportunities for engagement between our two countries, which we are working on. Today, I think our Indian defense industry is one of the most successful. It is rapidly becoming a very large defense industry, and that has opened the door for joint co-production of many equipment, for many systems. And also when we talk of India becoming a center of technology, naturally it also goes into the field of defense also. And so today we are very advanced in many areas, whether you talk of missiles, or whether it is these simple handheld guns, or whether you are talking of howitzers or whatever, or in the aircraft, or in submarine technology also. Today, India is indeed becoming a leader in defense-related areas also.
करासवी इस दस्ते में कुल 144 सैनिक हैं जो वहां के सशस्त्र बलों की मुख्य शाखाओं से लिए गए हैं। मिस्र राष्ट्र की महानता और प्राचीन इतिहास में इसके गौरव को दर्शाते ये सैनिक
Ambassador, the cooperation not only is in the field of defense, but also it covers other areas like energy, education, as well as technology. So what are the future prospects in that field?
It is true. I mean, when two large countries join hands, a lot of doors open for cooperation. And as I mentioned, how we look to the future of our relationship in many significant areas. Number one, we can talk of renewable energy. You know, you would be surprised to know that when we look at the amount of solar power which is available today in the world, I think what we get from the sun in 2 minutes is what the whole world consumes in 1 year, if you look at all kinds of energy consumption globally speaking. And so you can visualize this country with such a large potential for solar energy, similarly large potential for wind energy. And also, you know, Egypt is positioning itself as a center of green hydrogen, of ammonia. And these are areas where India is naturally a strong leader already. Today, we are already producing, we kept a target of producing 500 gigawatt of renewable energy by the next 5 years, by 2030. And we are well on our way towards realizing it. And the beautiful part in this journey is that it is being done by the private sector, not just by the government, but by the private sector. And today we have mega solar parks which are coming up in India, which are 3 gigawatt, 4 gigawatt size solar parks. And I believe this opens the door for a lot of engagement between the private sector of two countries, especially in the field of renewable energy. And I'm also glad to inform that we already have 2 big Indian companies which are exploring investments in Egypt in the field of renewable energy. And in the field of technology, naturally, I mean, India is considered to be a center of technology, both cutting edge technology, emerging technology, and technology cutting across different sectors, and especially in digital technology. And in this situation, I believe there's a lot of potential for us to engage, you know, between our companies in India and companies in Egypt, between the government departments of the two countries to share our knowledge, our experience, and importantly, to open the door for sharing technology. Because as our Prime Minister correctly said, today the challenge is democratizing technology. We want technology to be available for everybody. At the end of the day, it has to be for the benefit of the mankind. And that is what it's all about in terms of sharing of technology. And when we look at, even in the case of agriculture, today agriculture is being challenged by the climate change. It has got numerous challenges in terms of how we use the chemicals, etc. And this has also resulted in many countries closing the doors for agriculture exports, for example, right? So these are areas where we can cooperate, we can work together, because today in India also agri-tech has become something very important area of development in the agriculture sector. And similarly, if you look at the healthcare sector, today, as you are well aware, India is called the pharmacy of the world, because we do meet globally a large percentage of the global population requirement for pharmaceutical products. But also you would be aware that we supply more than 65% of the global vaccine requirement by UNESCO, by WHO, etc. And during the COVID, you are well aware, we are proud to say that we supplied vaccine to more than 150 countries around the world, because we recognized we had a commitment to our friends all around the world, and so we worked to supply vaccine to all of them.
Cultural exchange is also another important dimension, talking Egyptian-Indian relations.
And I really agree with you on that, because as two countries, as two civilizational countries, naturally we have very rich cultural heritage, right? And for me, being in Egypt is like being at home, really. I admire the culture, I admire the civilization of Egypt, and I feel there's so much common with India. And it is not really me, but this is the message from the Indian diaspora who is living in Egypt also. Everybody uniformly says they feel so much at home in Egypt. which really speaks of how common our two cultures are. Our cultural center was established in 1991 with a specific objective of further strengthening this cultural connect. And when you're talking of a cultural connect, you're also aware of how Saad Zaghloul and Mahatma Gandhi were in touch with each other. They used to write letters to each other. So that itself shows there's a common recognition of our cultures. And what I'm really happy about is how today more and more youth from Egypt are participating in our cultural activities. Last year when we conducted our International Day of Yoga, we did it across many governorates, and we were very happy to see large number of people coming and participating in the yoga events. And similarly, we did the painting competition across the whole of Egypt, and I'm very proud to say that more than 25,000 students participated in that across all universities. And you can imagine such a large number of students participating in that painting competition. And now another interesting element is we have started to have Kathak classes, and it's very nice that already more than 100 students have learned Kathak. And equally what is interesting is that is the language. Today we are conducting Hindi classes and Urdu classes, and there are so many students who are coming and registering for Urdu and Hindi classes. And the beauty is that they talk to us in Hindi. You know, they want to show the mastery over the language, and it is so nice to hear our friends from Egypt, you know, talking comfortably in Hindi.
In the field of investment, we're talking the sky is the limit, many investment initiatives between both countries. What are the future prospects?
I fully agree with you. I think Egypt is indeed becoming a center of investment. It is attracting a lot of investments. And right now we have about $4 billion plus worth of investments. But what is important is that the single largest foreign direct investment in Egypt is by an Indian company, Sanmar Group. It is the single largest foreign direct investment, and today it is more than $1.5 billion. We have another company which has invested $500 million, and right now there is another company which is going to invest $500 million. They are already seeking the different approvals, and the paperwork has started. And we have a lot of investments which are in the pipeline. I mentioned already about the two renewable energy projects. Each they are going to be in a pilot phase only. They are going to be investing $500 million, and it could potentially become a multi-billion-dollar investment. What I find from our friends in the industry is that they find there are many positives in Egypt. Number one, they find the stability in the regime. They really appreciate that, and then they find there's a lot of transparency in the systems. And they find the location of Egypt is excellent. It helps to connect with all over the region, the immediate neighborhood and the extended neighborhood, whether we talk of the Middle East, North Africa region, or we talk of whole of Africa. And also the weather, and importantly the culture. I already mentioned about it, that Egypt has got a very welcoming culture for foreigners. Today for me, what I find is that as our economy is growing, today I mentioned we are already the 4th largest economy, and it's about $4.5 trillion. And so our private sector companies are actively investing abroad. They are becoming major investors in many countries, and I hope to attract more and more investment into Egypt by our Indian companies.
India is really vibrant, and it is well known for its rich history, culture, civilization, and also have a vibrant tourism sector. So are we expecting an increase in the number of tourists visiting Egypt with the grand opening of the project of the century of GEM, the Grand Egyptian Museum?
I think you correctly said it, the project of the century. I must congratulate the government and the people of Egypt on the construction of the Grand Egyptian Museum. It is indeed an amazing, marvelous piece of work, and it beautifully reflects, showcases the history and the heritage of Egypt and the civilization. We have about, I think, 100,000 Indian tourists who are coming to Egypt, and I would say the number is quite low, because today the number of tourists who are going out of India is becoming one of the largest number of tourist outflow. So today we have many countries which are opening tourism bureau offices in India to attract Indian tourists. In fact, some countries have even kept a goal of attracting 1 million Indian tourists, because as the economy grows, the middle class is growing rapidly, and when the middle class is growing rapidly, they have a lot of surplus income, and so they wish to travel around the world and see the history, heritage and adventure and enjoy life. And our middle class today is more than 300 million, and this is what is reflected in the outflow of tourism from India. I believe with the streamlining of some of the systems, our tourism inflow into Egypt can really rapidly increase. And for me, it's a matter of happiness that we already have so many flights to India on a daily basis. In a week we have, I think, 5 flights to Delhi and 4 to Bombay. So that's almost 9-10 flights a week, which is good. But I believe it is only the starting. We are going to have many more flights between India and Egypt.
Soft power also plays a very important role in our relations, and media is definitely a very important venue and a tool. So talking about soft power as a media of communication between Egyptians and Indians, how does it reflect on our relations?
Oh, lovely. I think you raised a very important point, because today everybody is concerned about disinformation, about fake news, and the media being utilized for wrong and negative purposes. And so I think it's a great platform, and especially what you're doing here, providing an opportunity for us to connect with our Egyptian friends. I really admire that and appreciate that, and thank you for providing us this platform. And I do look forward to working with you more closely in showcasing our Indian culture with the people of Egypt. We do look forward to doing that. And I think, as you said, it's a very important medium for communicating between the people of the two countries, media. Yeah. And especially visual media plays a very special role, because they're able to see the richness and the vibrancy of the culture. And especially Indian culture is all about color, it's all about colors, it's all about life. It's a dynamic culture which is appealing, and that is what I believe appeals also to the visual media. Yes.
India, the richest civilization, one of the oldest civilizations of the whole world. Egypt is very much interested also in cultural preservation and preserving our rich heritage and ancient Egyptian civilization. So how are we cooperating in this medium in the field of cultural preservation?
It's a very important area, because when we are talking of preserving our culture or civilization, we are talking of preserving it for the future generations to admire, to appreciate, and also to enjoy, the civilizational heritage. And I believe that is what identifies us. If I say I am an Indian, it is my Indian culture which identifies me as an Indian, and that is what I want to preserve for my future generations. and similarly all our countries, and especially in Egypt, which is blessed with such a rich culture and civilization. So we are working together in that, between the archaeology, the antiquities and the archaeology federations in India, and also of course the Egyptian authorities. There's a lot of cooperation which is happening between the two countries in this field, and it's an important area of cooperation between the two countries.
Your Excellency, future prospects in terms of regional and global cooperation.
Thank you. It's an important question because, as I said, when we talk of India, we have a vision of 2047 where we are going to be hoping to become a developed country. Similarly, we also have a vision for our relations with Egypt. We believe the sky is the limit in terms of realizing the potential in the relations, and we have kept it, we are broadly looking at it from all the three spectrums. Number one is building a stronger political strategic partnership. This is important, especially when we look at the global challenges which are confronting us. That is why we wanted Egypt as a special friend to be a guest country in the G20. And we were very proud that President Sisi attended the summit in India also. And similarly, we actively supported Egypt's membership for the BRICS also, and also for the New Development Bank. And we are working very closely with Egypt in BRICS and other platform also. And we also actively work to make African Union as a member of the G20 during our chairmanship of the G20. This is the first time in the history of G20 that African Union has been made a member, obviously. And we believe this is because we need to give a voice to the developing nations in the high table, as we say. We cannot take global decisions which will impact a large percent of the population. On the economic side, as I mentioned, we have kept a target of $12 billion for trade, but I believe it is actually achievable, but we need to be even more ambitious, and I'm working on that. And though our current trade is about $5–6 billion, but the potential is rich, because we need to remember India's got a large market of 1.4 billion people, and there's so a lot of things which Egypt can export to India. Like I'm told, the pomegranate from Asyut is really very tasty, it is very nice. Even your mangoes from Ismailia, or your strawberries from so many places in Egypt. There are so many things, or your cotton. Actually, I mean, you've got so many things which you can export to India. Of course, you look at your fertilizers, rock phosphate, whatever, and there's so many things which you can actually export to India. And then we come to the investment. As I said, we are looking to increase investment from India into Egypt, and also in the case of promoting the people-to-people relations in the culture, that's a very important element, and that's what we're also focusing on.
Ambassador Suresh Reddy, Ambassador of India to Egypt, thank you so much, Your Excellency, for this opportunity. Always delighted to be at India House and enjoying Indian hospitality.
Thank you so much, Taglit, for giving me this opportunity and connecting with the audience. Thank you.
And I thank you, dear viewers, for joining us. That was exclusive with Taglit Hussein and this special edition, this exclusive interview with His Excellency Ambassador Suresh Reddy, Ambassador of India to Egypt. We'll meet you again next week. Until then.